All in Sports Network. We love sports.
Coming to you from the land of brisket and barbecue, Lone Stars and Longhorns. This is All In Colts, presented by the Unstable Blues.
Welcome back in. We've been talking about it all week, so it's time to unveil Hall Ball. During this Colts offseason, we'll take the opportunity to talk about other Indiana sports teams, so let's go all in Colts. Kind of.
Yep. I'm Kevin. This is my son Liam. We're the Unstable Blues. Happy to present All In Colts as part of the Rogue Media Sports Network.
Yep. I like the change of scenery with your hat supporting one of the teams.
Yep. Your mother always gives me a hard time for theming.
Right.
I like to theme, and so this whole thing. Go ahead. Sorry, I stole.
No, you're good. You're good.
It's fine.
You made a claim.
Yes, I did.
That right now, what was the number? Was it 12? Is that the number?
Yep.
That the Colts are the 12th best team in Indiana right now.
That is true.
Which I don't know if I would put them 12 necessarily, but I'm assuming you're gonna jump into this.
I'll break it down. You can argue with me. I get it. We may not see eye to eye.
I'm just gonna say if I disagree or agree.
Okay.
We'll go there.
I may call you out and say why. Okay, so here's the starting premise. We'll start with the Colts. Okay. So we're gonna start it from the bottom.
Okay.
And then we're here. Okay.
Right.
That's all I'll say because I don't want to get in trouble. So the Colts were 8-9 this season, below 500.
Right.
And essentially, for the large part of their season, beat who they were supposed to beat, did not beat who they should not have beaten. There's only really one team, as you look at their season, that you say, oh, yeah, that is a team that they should not have beaten, and they did, and that was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
The only playoff team that they beat this year. And then, of course, there's the Jaguars and the Giants, who they should have beaten and didn't. So, beat who they should have, didn't beat who they shouldn't have, but then a few back and forth. Okay? So, I'm going to start from there and go to the top. In my opinion, right now, the best team in the state of Indiana.
Wait, I thought you were going bottom to top.
Okay.
You said
you were at the bottom. So now we're here.
Flipping. Okay, now you're flipping back up to the top and going to go down. Okay.
Yes. So I was starting with the premise of the baseline. Okay. Baseline, just under 500. Kind of did what they should do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's the Colts. Yeah. Okay. So at the top, best team in Indiana sports, all of Indiana-based sports, Notre Dame football.
I like it.
They lost one game, 2 games all season. The one game that they lost early in the season was not a good loss to Northern Illinois. I will give you that. But they made the semifinal of the entire sport that they're in. Okay.
Yep.
So you have to also keep in mind that this is related to like competition. So we're going to try to eliminate the whole Boise State argument. This is college football. Notre Dame was the runner-up in all of college football. Therefore,
it's true.
Best in the state.
I completely agree there.
Okay, cool. You're with me there. Got you so far. Number 2 in the state. And this could jump to number 1, but we haven't gotten there yet. Notre Dame women's basketball.
Okay.
Number 1 in the ACC. Number 2 in the entire country right now. At this moment.
I'm cool with that one too.
So once again, it remains to be seen. This could go up. It could go down depending on how the rest of the season goes.
Right.
It's right there at the top. There's no argument that I have unless they go out as a number 1 seed. And even then, they still are probably better than the Colts related to women's basketball. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Number 3, IU football.
Okay.
They again only lost 2 games, and those 2 games that they lost were against the 2 teams that battled out for the national championship.
This is true.
So if you're going to draw a deductive reasoning from that, they are the 3rd best team in all of college football. There are many people that would argue with that, especially Georgia and anyone else associated with the SEC, because they would look at the strength of schedule.
But the Big Ten is the best conference in college sports. So,
and I will say also part of this goes to, if this is your off season, let's take a look at how your off season is trending.
So far, IU's is really good.
Is signing a lot of good transfers. Losing some, but their best transfer that they lost was this year's backup quarterback in Taven Bryan, right?
It sounds right. I don't know.
Um,
I don't know him.
I
don't follow
Jackson.
IU football.
Jackson Davis's brother.
Okay, I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah, I went to UCF. Okay. So you with me so far? Top 3?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
All right. Number 4, Purdue basketball.
Okay.
Tough one. Best in the Big Ten. Got knocked off last night by Michigan. But
Big Ten competition is hard, though.
Big Ten competition is tough. Purdue, number 7 in the country before that loss to Michigan. So we'll see what the new rankings are. But I believe as
Still
it shakes
top
down,
25.
Purdue
I
basketball.
would agree.
Okay. Now we get into some, I don't know. How you feel about this? My number 5 best team in the state is the Indiana Fever.
Okay. I'm fine with that now. I'm waiting to hear what comes next to decide.
Okay. Once again, this is for what they did and what they are building, which we'll get to later. So you have to stick around for a little insight on that. Number 6 is the Indiana Pacers.
Okay. I personally think they both, well, it's kind of hard for the Pacers because the way they're going right now is really strong. So I think if we're talking, because some sports are right now.
Yep.
And you just got to accept that.
Yep.
WNBA is not right now.
Nope.
And I think knowing what happened compared to knowing now and Indiana now, because I would say you give me a choice between, let's just say, Fever last season, which is the Fever that we're talking about, compared to the Pacers last season. I think the Pacers are better.
I will ask you this question though. Which Indiana Fever last season are you talking about? The beginning of the season or after the Olympic break?
Does it matter though? Because it's the same scenario with the Pacers. They started off terribly and then they pulled it off at the end. It's the same thing. They both went to the semis, right?
Nope. Nope.
There's your answer.
The Fever with less experience lost in the first round of the playoffs when they only had like
right, and the Pacers with much experience,
five wins before the Olympic break, 8 wins,
and the Pacers with not much experience either. The Pacers are better than the Fever. Also, I truly believe it could go either way, but I choose the Pacers because I like my Pacers.
Okay, sounds good.
They are my
We'll talk
second
about
pick.
both of them a little bit later because they both have ongoing things, one in season, one in the offseason. Okay.
Right.
Number 7. So you're saying flip those in.
I am saying
okay.
flip
All right.
those.
So not a huge discrepancy. The Indianapolis Indians.
I like it.
Please, we beg you, because you grew up going to Indianapolis
grew up-
Indians games.
I didn't grow up on Colts necessarily going to Colts games. I didn't grow up going to Pacers. I grew up going to Indians games. This is my stuff.
Like,
AAA baseball.
don't sleep on a minor league baseball team that is one step below the absolute major leagues, because
I would say it is the closest team to becoming an MLB out of AAA.
right. And not to mention that this is an organization that has been family owned and operated for more than 100 years.
Yep.
The oldest professional franchise, I believe, in the state. If not the state, definitely the city of Indianapolis.
Right.
There is a community tradition around the Indians that is unmeasured. We were able to have a birthday party for you in this stadium because we had a connection. We worked it out. We had some friends. Got to go into the batting cages, into the locker room. They call it the what do they call the baseball clubhouse. That's it. The locker room is not it's the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't sleep on them. They were 77-70 overall in the season, which is still above 500, meets the criteria here. But once again, they were just second in the West division after the All-Star break this past season. So,
I like that one. I like
really
it.
good. So that's number 7. Indy 11 at number 8.
Okay. Throwing some soccer in here. I like it.
Once again, don't sleep on the minor league. Here's my backup. They were 4th in the USL, which is above halfway. They were 14-9 on the season, and their claim to fame this season was they were a quarter finalist in the U.S. Open Cup.
Which also includes...
Sorry, no, not a quarter. They were a semifinalist. That's right.
Which also includes the MLS teams.
That is every single private club in North America, or in the U.S.
Yes.
That would be
I believe Miami ended up winning it, right?
Yes. They lost to Sporting Kansas City, who went on to lose to Miami.
Yes.
Of course.
Because Miami wins everything now.
It's what you have when you have Messi.
Exactly. And
owned by David Beckham.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So any arguments there? That okay?
I like it. I like it.
Okay. Next up, number 9 is Indiana University men's basketball.
Oof. Okay.
I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
It's a little rough patch right now.
Actually, we're on the up right now.
Right this instant, yes. Been a little rough patch. There's some things behind the scenes we'll talk about in a little bit when we get to the IU basketball section. Right now, we're still in the setup. It's a 15-minute setup. You're welcome. Got to set the stage well. 15-10 overall. Yes, 6-8 in the Big Ten, but still 15-10 overall. I know that the preseason is what it is, and the Big Ten conference is what it is. But once again, a little bit more explanation later. They're still ninth. Okay, still above 500 overall. Still better than the Colts by two more teams. Okay, 10-11. 10-11, maybe not as much known. But here we go. Indy Ignite volleyball.
I would switch Indy Ignite and IU basketball.
Oh,
I'd put Ignite over because they are brand new, and what they're working with
2 years. This is 2 years in the league. They're
brand
professional.
new.
In
They are
case
brand new.
in case you don't know, there is a professional volleyball federation,
Yes,
and
this is Indianapolis' team.
right, even though they play in Fishers,
Yes.
but also Indianapolis will host the All-Star Pro Volleyball Federation game, which
Mhm.
makes 2 All-Star games that Indianapolis will host this year and 3 within the past full calendar year.
Yeah. The reason I put their Ignite, right? Indy Ignite.
Yep.
Is that okay?
Mhm. Yep.
The reason I would put Ignite over IU basketball is because the teams that IU has beaten are not great teams. There are some good teams, but they have not beat a great team. Matter of fact, they've gotten blown out by the great teams. So, and this is a brand new organization in Ignite, and that when I watched one game of theirs, and they looked really, really solid whenever I watched them. Volleyball is one of those sports that you lose momentum, you dig yourself a hole, and it's so hard to get out of it. So volleyball is one of those sports that your record does not show everything. You can be 4-4, and you
Which
can
they are.
you can dominate. Yes, you can dominate your 4 wins and then barely lose your 4 losses. So in reality, your record doesn't show that. It shows that maybe you're a 6-2 team, 7-1 team because of how close you were. You just maybe got unlucky, like someone accidentally touched it and it went out of bounds or something. Like volleyball is one of those sports that your record does not show how good you are. Now, obviously, you got to be able to close out games, but it's very unforgiving. It's a very unforgiving sport. You make a mistake and it's big. So
Yep, I get you. All right. So that's that. Indy Ignite is kind of just below halfway in the standings of their federation. So still better than the Colts comparatively. And then the last one, I played around with switching these last two. Is the Indy Fuel minor league hockey team, plays in the same arena as the Indy Ignite. They are 19-18 on the current season, above 500, better than the Colts.
Yep, I agree. All these teams, record-wise, I'd have to dig deeper to know if they were for sure better, because circumstances can happen during seasons, like happened to the Colts. Injuries happen in basketball. Injuries happen in every sport. You could lose a major player at any moment.
Yeah.
So a lot of things could happen.
Backing up Indy Ignite, shout out to their best player. Member Mena is amazing. Definitely worth a watch. Indy Ignite.
Yes.
Volleyball.
If you enjoy volleyball, go watch. Not just necessarily Ignite, but the whole thing. It's very fun, very well put on as well.
Yep.
And these are
watch it on TV.
You watch
visit the
women's
arena.
You watch women's Olympics. It's the same thing pretty much because they're all trying to be Olympians for the U.S. team or whatever country they want to, I guess.
Yep.
So it's very, very entertaining.
Yep. All right. So now it's time to break down some of the things going on with some of these teams. Yes. Let's see. I'll take the IU basketball one. Mike Woodson will be stepping down from coaching IU basketball at the end of the season.
Mr. Potato Head.
Mr. Potato Head, as we call him. If you don't know why that is, just take a look. Google Mike Woodson. You'll get it. He is mysteriously now not taking any questions pregame, postgame. He is basically ducking all
media
of his responsibilities. We're not sure if this is because IU doesn't want him talking or because he doesn't want to talk.
Either way, he's not talking.
Yeah, it's a rough situation.
Which probably means he's not coaching at his finest either.
Right.
which isn't the smartest for him.
Right. Before this happened, IU almost beat number 7 Purdue on the road.
I watched that live, and I was so excited. I'm like, yes, propel, momentum for the rest of the season, yes. Yeah. And then they let it slip through the grass.
Yep. And then they got blown out by number 16 Wisconsin on the road. That is the 21st time in a row that they've been beat by Wisconsin. At that point, that is when Mike Woodson made his announcement. And since then, they blew a win against 20th ranked Michigan at home. They went to a zone, they shut them down, and then in the last few minutes, they went back to man-to-man and lost the game. If something is working, don't change it.
Yes.
It's like run the ball and keep running the ball. Like, I don't get it. Coaching is not as difficult as coaches make it sometimes. Easy to say from my couch, but that's the way we go. And then
out there,
they squeaked out a victory at number 11, Michigan State, 2 nights ago.
1 point.
Hey, you know what? And Michigan State did everything they could to try to foul. And, there were fouls back and forth because there was a 3-point lead. So Michigan State would foul to stop the clock and force the free throws. And then Indiana would foul to prevent them from making a 3-point. And it was just the last minute, took about 30 minutes. But such is college basketball sometimes. Also, I told you earlier in the season offline, watch out for Eggbachem.
You did.
And then he had a bad game, and you were like, what do you mean?
Every time I watch them, he has a bad game.
And since then, he's pretty much been on fire, being, a potential top pick in the draft kind of thing here. So credit to him. He'll get more. And I really like Leal, number 3, former Mr. Basketball from 2020. He plays with a lot of gumption. He plays with that kind of, when you were growing up, I'd say, hey, go Larry Bird mode. And that meant don't take any moment off. Play to the full. He plays that way. Play to the fullest potential. So, all right. You want to take away your Pacers there?
I will. The Pacers have been the best team since the new year, bringing them to 4th in the East. I believe earlier on in the season they were 7th or 8th. Still in the play-in. Actually, don't quote me on this. I believe they may have been the last team
like
to
10?
be 10. So barely playing. Now they're 4th. They've just been climbing the ranks. The Knicks are right above them. They're going to be hard to catch because the Knicks are on fire right now.
And they just lost to the Knicks.
And they just lost to the Knicks. Cat is something else for that team. But right below him is the team we know a lot about, the Bucks. It's kind of funny. We played the Bucks, beat them, and then we played the Knicks and beat them in last playoffs. So it's funny how things line up. Pacers just had a game today. They beat the Wizards, who are not a good team at all, in overtime by 4. It sounds concerning.
Was Miles Turner out? Is Miles Turner still out?
Yes, he is.
Right. Miles Turner was out when they lost to the backup Lakers. Right. Miles Turner, and he's been out since. So, including the next game.
Mm-hmm. Turner.
There's reasons.
Turner's out. Yes, but the Wizards aren't they're still pro basketball players. They're still really top-notch basketball players. And they have gotten close to beating teams like the Cavs, who are this outstanding team. I believe, I don't know exactly. I forget what here. I gotta look this up.
All right.
Okay, they are okay. They're in the Eastern Conference. That's what I was looking up. I Don't.
I'm just killing time here.
I don't know exactly what rank they are, but they were first in the NBA at one point. Just because they were on such a hot streak, and then the Pacers ended that hot streak. But the Cavs are still a great team. But what my point is, the Wizards almost beat the Cavs. So stuff like that happens. That's why you play the games.
Exactly.
And it's more stats for everybody since it went in overtime. That was definitely.
And it's also why when it comes to the playoffs, the NBA plays series instead of just one game. Because ebb and flow and all that kind of stuff. Not to mention it's more money, but what? Kevin's conspiracies for another time. All right, you ready for my fever breakdown?
All right, let's hear it.
Why they are not better than the Pacers?
Why they are not better?
Why they are better than the Pacers? Here we go.
Okay, let's hear it.
So they made it to the playoffs when no one expected them to do anything.
Same with the Pacers.
At the beginning of the season.
Same with the Pacers.
They were doing awful. Everybody wanted the coach fired. And then they flipped it around and were the best team after the Olympic break and the best three-point shooting team by far after the Olympic break.
Okay.
Now,
that's because you have Caitlin Clark.
It actually was more to do with Lexi Hull, who went to an 87% three-point shooting clip.
Oh, gotcha.
And not like just shooting a few. Like she was. There was one game she went 7 for 10.
70%.
Yeah. So, she during that Olympic break, there was a lot of work done because they didn't have any Olympians. They got to do a lot of work, and I'm sure Lexi Hull spent a lot of time with Caitlin Clark learning.
Before you say anything else, let me say something about the Pacers first to combat all this. Last season, the Pacers were the highest scoring team in the NBA. They did not play defense. I will admit that.
Yep.
But the reason they are better is because now they still score at high clips, but they play defense. Mr. Halliburton, who was known last season as, just double-double, and you're just good at offense, now plays defense. Mind you, some really good defense, too.
Yeah. Both teams are built similarly where they get up and down the floor quickly. Whether you make or miss, you better run down the floor because they are going to be going down there because they both have great vision at the point guard position, Caitlin and Hallie.
I'd say they both have really good benches as well.
Well, let me get to that. The Fever continued to make veteran moves this offseason. They re-signed Kelsey Mitchell, who is a three-point threat along with Caitlin Clark. They picked up DeWanna Bonner, who new coach Stephanie White worked with the last 2 years in Connecticut. Coach Stephanie White coming back to Indiana in the Fever is its own thing that's amazing. They signed Natasha Howard to bring her back where she was drafted. Then they picked up Sophie Cunningham and Jaylen Brown and a 19th pick for Nalissa Smith and the 8th pick. That brings a total of 6 WNBA championships between them to the Fever just in this offseason. So they took this really young team who lost to Connecticut in the opening round of the playoffs.
Right.
When Connecticut had 100 and something total playoff games of experience between their team and the Fever had 0. And they built around it with veterans. Maybe the Colts should take a little bit of a lesson. But that's it. That's all the time we have for today. I'm not going to get into that right now. We'll be back tomorrow to finish our conversation on our initial look at the draft targets for those 12th place Colts in Indiana. We will hit headliners like wide receiver and quarterback, but also go toward bigger needs for the Colts like linebacker and defensive tackle.
Yes. This is Liam.
And this is Kevin.
Reminding you to stay all in Colts.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.